NFC West Fantasy Football Preview, back with Joe and Joey. This continues our division preview edition. We've broken down the AFC South, the NFC South, the AFC North, the NFC North, and now we're going west. We're going to the NFC West, the substations. We're going to get into conspiracy theories. We're going to talk about the JFK assassination and the JFK the movie. And we'll get into Lyndon Johnson and all that. But you just follow the show, guys. We love you, everybody. The show's doing really well. We're over 1,000 subscribers now. We're pumping out these live drafts. We got Josh and Dan doing a hell of a job. Joey and Joe every single week, and Mike Gamberg. He hasn't been on the show a little while. We got to get him back here. And it's good to see Jamie in the chat. He hasn't been here for a while. So welcome back, Jamie. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into this division. We'll break it all down from a fantasy perspective. Here we go. Okay, we are back. Again, follow the show on YouTube if you can. If you're watching on Twitch or Twitter, head over to our YouTube channel at Fantasy Savvy. Follow us over there. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. You can follow the fellas as well on their handles below. What's going on, fellas? How you guys feeling tonight?
Good.
Feeling tired, but good. We're good.
Yeah, well, we'll get fired up as we get through the show. We got our first football game of the night. First football game of the season, rather. Preseason, the Hall of Fame game between Arizona and Carolina. Carson Beck looking pretty good out there. We're going to talk about them a little bit later. We'll save them. Maybe we'll save them for last. Maybe we'll let this game play out a little bit. But, none of the starters out there. Little Carson Beck, little Bam Knight, little Joe Horn, Sammy Fehoko, I think. Remember, he played for the Cowboys. I saw him out there. And actually John Mechie caught a couple passes too. So
I saw AJ Dillon.
Oh yeah, that's right. AJ Dillon rumbled one in as well for the Panthers. That's right. Hey man, he might be a pickup at some point this year. I mean, that's possible. He had a pretty good presence for the Packers those years. All right, but let's get started with we'll get started with the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champions. Mike McDonald now his second season, or third season rather. He started in 2024, and he wins a Super Bowl in his second season. So this is his third season now. They no more Clint Kubiak. They bring in Brian Fleury, formerly with the 49ers. So he comes over as the new offensive coordinator. That's going to be interesting. Obviously, Clint Kubiak did a heck of a job last year. A lot of people are excited about the Raiders. And, so we'll see how that affects the offense. It really could change things up. But you got to give props to the way Sam Darnold played last year. I mean, he did a hell of a job out there. He shut up a lot of the haters, including me. I was definitely one of his biggest haters. And he did a hell of a job. JSN had an unbelievable season. We saw Zach Charbonnet be an absolute thorn in Kenneth Walker's side all season long. And then finally, when Charbonnet got hurt and they were forced to use Kenneth Walker, we saw what everybody was expecting and wanted from Kenneth Walker when we were drafting him last year in fantasy football. But you could say, maybe that's what helped Kenny Walker stay healthy was, them holding back on him and kind of be able to unleash him. And Kenny Walker ends up winning Super Bowl MVP, but he's now, in Kansas City. They draft rookie Jartarian Price from Notre Dame, who I like a lot. And they still have George Halani, who, he played some snaps last year, and he's not a bad player either, undrafted free agent. And they bring over Emmanuel Wilson from the Green Bay Packers. Rashid Shaheed now, second year, so we'll see if he takes a little bit of a step up. They still have Cooper Kupp, and they still have Torrey Horton. So, Joe, I'll start with you on Seattle. Obviously no more Clint Kubiak. Are you expecting this offense to look a little bit different, or, mostly the same compared to last year?
I think it's going to be a little bit different, not just because of the coaching changes, but there's no Kenneth Walker, and Charbonnet probably not going to be ready for week 1. So you're looking at Emmanuel Wilson. They spent, a high draft pick on Jadarian Price. I do think Jadarian Price is probably in for a pretty good workload. George Halani is still there. He's a good third down back. There's 226 vacated carries. So somebody is going to emerge from that backfield. And I know Jadarian Price is the highest as far as ADP goes. It goes usually mid round 6. Sometimes he falls to round 7. He's okay there. I like him as an RB2. Emmanuel Wilson's going to be a thorn in the side for both Halani. I think it's going to be a 3-headed monster until Schaubs comes back, and then when Schaubs comes back, it's his backfield. And I think whoever the better running back is probably going to be Price, and then Halani will be the thorn. I'm not feeling confident all year, like season long, for these running backs. If you do draft Jadarian Price, I would make plans, draft appropriately and make sure you have insulation behind him, I guess, for the second half of the season, because I do worry, unless, Schaubs has setbacks or he ends up, coming back later, or he comes back and gets re-injured, then it's wheels up for Price in that scenario. But when I'm drafting him, I'm insulating him. I like him as an RB3 more than an RB2. If I do take him as an RB2, like I said, take some upside handcuffs after that to give yourself a chance for the second half in the event that Schaubs comes back and crushes Price's fantasy value. I do think JSN takes a little bit of a regression. The way they used him last year, they used him everywhere. And now I don't think that's going to change much, but defenses in the NFL adjust. And I think that he's going to have a little bit tougher sledding this year, especially where there's really no clear-cut wide receiver, too. I mean, you got Rashid Shaheed, and you got rookie Torrey Horton, who flashed until he went down. We talked a little bit about him last night on the draft, Steve. I took him with a late-round flyer. I like him as a late-round flyer. I think he's one of those wide receiver threes that has a chance to move up that depth chart. Because we know Rashid Shaheed has always been best as a deep threat, big play guy. He can handle volume. We've seen it a little bit, but we haven't seen it consistently. So we can't say that Shaheed's going to be the number 2 for sure. I do think he's in for more usage. I like taking shots on him where he goes in drafts as well. The mid rounds there, he's another. There's a handful of wide receivers I like to take in my heavy RB builds. Shaheed is one of them. I do think overall this offense is going to pass more, just because of the fact that they're not as strong at running back as they were last year, and the schedules are pretty tough. I mean, they open up against the Patriots, and then they go through a stretch from week 4 to week 7 where they get the Chargers, 49ers, Broncos, and Chiefs. And then their playoff schedule, they have to go to Philadelphia, the fantasy playoff schedule, the shootout rounds. They have to go to Philadelphia week 15. Then they get the Rams week 16 at home, and then they have to go to Carolina. I think Carolina's defense is a problem when they're at home. They play well. They keep the game low scoring, and they usually do well as far as the time of possession goes in those games. So I'm not digging the fantasy shootout schedule to be fantasy friendly for guys like JSN to have those big spike 30-point spike weeks when you need them. So that's why I've been taking I would take St. Brown over JSN in the first round every time. I even took Genty over JSN last night in the NFFC 350. I mean, I have a share of JSN. If I didn't have a share of JSN, I most likely would have just taken the value because I was picking at 7 and he fell. I most likely would have taken him there, but I already have a share of JSN, so you know that's the only one the only share I'm going with. After I looked more into, there was an earlier draft where I got him. I looked more into their schedule, their season, their offense, just the whole situation. I think Sam Donald did such a really good job last year, and I being a New England Patriots fan and seeing a lot of Super Bowl wins, I can tell you that the Super Bowl hit hangover is somewhat a thing. There was, I think,
it's usually more the loser in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think the winner too. The winners take a step back too. So I mean, they can still have us. They see it like.
But the loser usually they won't even make the playoffs the next year.
Sometimes you lose a couple of key pieces on defense, and that's all it takes to unravel. Then a couple of guys get injured, and the next thing you know, you're playing from behind, and you're trying to catch up. And I think that hurts Seattle because Sam Donald. I don't think Sam Donald's that type of quarterback. And I think that if defenses find a way to take away or neutralize JSN at all, I don't think anybody else on that offense is.
I don't see it. Take over again. I don't know how he really neutralized him because it's like he doesn't even need that much separation. And the way, I mean, if this is going back from last year, like this is the way Darnold was just putting these tight holes and JSN was just catching everything. So unless Darnold really just starts being inaccurate, I don't know. I just feel like JSN, I look at that playoff schedule. You do make a good point there. It is kind of tough. I mean, you got Philly in their corners, and you got the Rams with their vaunted defense now. It is good. He only has to play the Rams once during the fantasy season. But, yeah, that playoff schedule, that is, that could be somewhat concerning. So that could, like you did last night, that could vulture you off into a different direction. Joey, what are your thoughts on Seattle this year?
Well, Joe summed it up pretty good. The only player I'm going to add into it, I thought he's interested for fantasy purposes as a late flyer, but AJ Barner, he had 6 touchdowns, 52 receptions, 519 yards. JSN needs somebody. He needs Shaheed or he needs Barner to help him out if he's going to get peppered with targets. Price is interesting. Like you said, you didn't like Darnold, and he's still free this year. Basically, you get the free look with all of them outside of Price. I mean, outside Price and JSN, of course, that's your 2 highest ones, but they're still free. But Barner to me is interesting. If they keep utilizing him, because he went up 22 catches, he went up almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns from the previous year. So I like Barner late. He ain't gonna give you a whole lot, but he'll give you, a good bye week fill in or something down the line.
Yeah, they still have Elijah. They drafted Elijah Arroyo, so he'll be second year out of Miami. But you're right, Barner. He's definitely a big dude out there, and it's not like they have Cooper Kupp is still there too. So Shaheed, man, I always love Shaheed, but I just feel like he's just safer in best ball. If you're taking him in redraft, I feel like it's more of a depth pick. There's talk that he's going to take a big step up this year. I just don't know. I don't know. I still think he's going to be pretty much inconsistent. Like he'll have some boom and bust weeks. So I think he's better. As much as I love him, as much as I've drafted him year in, year out, because he won me a fantasy league a couple of years ago because he's a returner and I got kick return points. I picked him up, I don't know, it was like 3-4 years ago. So I've kind of loved him since then. But yeah, he's just more of a depth pick, and you hope that he could just help you win some weeks. Jardarian Price is very interesting. Like Joe was saying, you got to kind of insulate around him because, he may start pretty good, but then if Charbonnet comes back like week 7, week 8 or whatever, even in like week 10 or whatever, and you're going into the shootout and all of a sudden Jardarian Price is kind of slowing down a little bit. Or you could just flip it the other way and say, well, Price I believe in his talent. I don't care about Zach Charbonnet. There's no more Clint Kubiak, trying to mix these two guys in, but McDonald's still there. They trust Charbonnet in pass protection. I think that, that's probably a Price has still got to prove that. So, Charbonnet could be a little bit of a thorn on Price's side later in the year. So that's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, their secret weapon is Jason Myers. If you're going to have a kicker, I mean, he's 200 plus points through 17 weeks.
Good point, Joe.
Pete's in the chat.
Oh, I was about to put that up too.
Okay. Yeah, he says, hello, guys. Very low end, but I've heard absolutely nothing about Emmanuel Wilson. He had some good game. What's up with that? Yeah, I mean, you really haven't heard anything. Everything's about George Halani.
And, here's the thing. Halani's been in the system for at least 3 years now, right? I don't know how many years he's been.
This is his second year. He was a.
Is it his second? I thought it was.
I think he was an undrafted free agent last year. I'm pretty sure.
He can pass protect. He's a great third down running back. So he's got the upper hand there with Jobs being out. Emmanuel Wilson flashed last year, I thought, and when he got the opportunity, but they didn't give him a lot of money, and they drafted a high. He was at the back end of round 1, right? Jardarian Price. That was a round 1 pick.
Yeah, first round pick. I think he was their first round pick at the last pick of the first round.
And the last, they have a knack for drafting good running backs. Charbonnet looked pretty solid. Kenneth Walker's been productive. I mean, you can go way back. Sean Alexander, this team knows how to draft running backs. So that's why I'm a little bit more confident in Jardarian Price. I do have some early best ball shares of Emmanuel Wilson. I will say that. I was clicking on him just because he was basically free in like the 18th, 19th round. So I think it's going to take injuries and things to happen for him to get an opportunity. But yeah, I think that he's just new to the system. I think Halani and Jardarian Price are more in their plans. I think they just added Wilson as a depth piece. Somebody on the cheap they didn't have to overpay to have as a little bit of insurance. That's my opinion. But I'm not. I think he's more of a waiver wire pickup. That's why I'm not necessarily drafting him in redraft. I think you can monitor the situation and maybe get him on the cheap a week or two ahead of time. If you start hearing a drum beat or seeing the writing on the wall, if you're paying attention to Seattle Seahawks football all the time, you can pick up on some of the signs. Maybe he's starting to increase his workload a little bit, work him in some more. Then he's definitely worth the speculative ad. Those are the running backs you're looking for when you're combing waivers. So that's kind of how I'm approaching Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah, I'm not drafting him. I believe in Price, and then I think Halani, like you said, he's in the system. I think Wilson might have a little bit of a role, but I'm not really into him. Going back to Price, again, I believe in his talent. I love him a lot. I think Charbonnet's solid for what he does, but I just thought it was kind of ridiculous, his role last year. Kenneth Walker's getting down to the 2-yard line, making these huge plays, and then Charbonnet just keeps cleaning up at the goal line. It was just unbelievably frustrating to watch, So, but he's solid for what he does. He runs. He's just a north-south runner. He doesn't bullshit around. He's, he does what the coaches want, and the coaches like that. So it's like, when we're thinking from a fantasy perspective, we see this flashy player, but the coaches are going to, what we think the coaches are going to do whatever the hell they want. So we can't control the coaching, so you kind of got to go with, what they did last year with Charbonnet. Now he's still got to come back from injury. He's still got to prove his health. He could get hurt again. We don't really know. The coach that comes in, the coordinator, Fleury. The last time I heard the last name Fleury was Theo Fleury. The Calgary Flames was my favorite player in NHL '93 for Genesis when I used to play that game.
He had a sweet mullet. He had a sweet mullet for like a tail for a little.
He was nasty in that game too. He was freaking fast. But Brian Fleury, yeah. So he comes over from the Niners, and I guess they want to keep that Shanahan style system, that familiarity. He also has some history with Darnold there when he was with the 49ers, when they were both with the 49ers. So, it's going to be somewhat similar system, you would think. It just, it is, if Price is like even showing a lot of talent, is Charbonnet, if he comes back healthy, he's going to still have a role. I mean, you really have to assume that. So that could really hurt. Like I mentioned earlier, Price.
He could be your second half darling, of the season. If Wilson's probably the key to that. If Price, Helani, and Wilson can all be good, they're not going to rush him back till he's fully healthy. He likes to use two backs. So who knows? Helani may get the goal line carries with Price. How they done it last year? You just don't never know. Or Wilson, that's how he rolls. But Charbonnet could be one of these, especially if you're in a hometown league. If you can draft him, put him on IR, and hold him. Or these ESPN leagues or Yahoos or whatever. But Charbonnet could be a second half type player, that running back that could be useful down the stretch. But they don't have to rush him back if the other three is performing well.
Yeah, and I like Price a lot. I really believe in him as a player. So, I think he was worth the pick there. After losing Walker, end of the first round. The Seahawks are plus 205 to win the division. Obviously, the Rams are the Super Bowl favorites. They're in front of them, but Seahawks are also like third, with like the Ravens and the Bills to win the Super Bowl again. All right, next team we will get into will be. Let's go to the LA Rams. And, McVay, obviously, he's been there since 2017. I didn't even realize this. Their assistant head coach is Cliff Kingsbury. Did you guys know that?
I
just saw that. I thought Cliff Kingsbury was still in Thailand, taking a little reprieve again, because it seemed to help him last time he was fired. So I thought that's meant what he was doing. Went back to Thailand again, but yeah, so they get a new offensive coordinator. Mike LaFleur is now, he's with the Cardinals, but obviously McVay is the mind behind that. They bring in this guy, Nate Scheelhaas. I don't really know who the hell he is, but again, it's going to be the Sean McVay show pretty much. And they bring in Kingsbury, but still it's the Sean McVay show. And the Rams are going all out, bringing in Myles Garrett, bringing in Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. Two solid corners from the Chiefs. The Chiefs they seem like they get these great corners and they keep moving on. Remember, they moved on from Jarius Sneed as well. I guess they feel like they just keep guessing right over there so they can kind of, make it work. So the Rams, Matt Stafford, is this his last year in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, Devontae Adams, he's probably got one maybe good year left in the NFL. Puka, a little bit of off-season concerns, but nothing seems like it's popping up from that. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum is an very interesting topic. People are shitting all over Kyron Williams once again. And then the tight end room, very interesting. They played a lot of 13 personnel last year, and they drafted another tight end, Max Clare. And you could argue they have like 5 good tight ends on this team. Davis Allen's actually not a bad player either. And then, Terrence Ferguson, he's been the popular pick in drafts. Colby Parkinson and Tyler Higbee are still there. So, Joey, I'll start with you this time. Are you a Kyron Williams guy, or are you kind of just fading Kyron Williams there in that third, fourth round and maybe taking a Corum later?
I took Corum a couple times, but I mean, with Kyron Williams in the round 5 or 4, you about have to take him. I mean, I look at it different. If this defense is as good as everybody says it is, if they get them, I mean, it's going to be Kyron and the Corum show. I mean, they're going to run the ball heavy, and they're going to keep Stafford healthy. They're going to keep. That's what worries me with the offense. I mean, Puka and them could put up good numbers in the first half, and they just set out second half if they blow them out. That's
Yeah, but it's the NFL. I mean, you gotta. It always kind of seems like that, and then these games are always close one way or the other. I mean, they almost lost to the Panthers in the playoffs last year.
I like Jordan Whittington. He's a good player too. Behind, if you're sitting there looking at him behind, he's a one injury away from being fantasy relevant. And the tight end room, who knows what's going to happen there. They use them, but they all get used. So,
are you taking some shots on Ferguson in these drafts?
I have not. I've not drafted no Rams tight end.
I got him in best ball, just because in best ball I draft 3, sometimes 4 tight ends. In redraft that's not my style. So I'm not digging deep on the tight ends once I have the 2 that I like. So for the most part,
so far I've only had. I think I've got a share of Kyron. I'm not sure. I know I've drafted Corum. I've not had nobody else on that team.
I have a share of Kyron in the mid 4th round. I think he's a value anywhere in the 4th round. If you like you said, Joe, the defense is really good, and I like your call. They're gonna try to keep Stafford fresh. They're gonna try to keep Devontae Adams fresh. Puka's probably gonna get a ton of volume. All 3 tight ends are going to be mixed in. I like Ferguson to be used more as like in the slot, and I think they're going to move him around, and he'll be the I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. He's the athletic, the most athletic big play of the 3. The highest up, and that's why I think he has the highest upside. Though I do think the other tight ends, was it Kobe Parkinson and Higbee? They're also going to be involved. I'm not necessarily trusting either of them for fantasy. That's why I like the upside pick with Ferguson, but I don't have any shares of them yet. It would take a really wait. Like I would have to really wait on tight ends and miss out on the guys that I were waiting on, and then end up with like Dalton Schultz, maybe Dalton Kincaid, and in that instance, I might take a shot on a 3rd tight end and mix in somebody like a Terrence Ferguson. But
I mean, with that offense, Puka, Devontae, and Coleman, Kyron. Tight ends pushed to the side anyway.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head perfect, Joe. They're gonna run, they're gonna be in 12, 13 personnel, multiple tight ends, and running the ball a lot. I think they're gonna be very run heavy this year. And I agree, both Kyron and Corum carry standalone value. Corum as a flex, Kyron as an RB2, and if one were to miss time, the other is an RB1 instantly, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys agree with that as well. But and then Stafford continues to be a good value. He had 43, or he's over 40 touchdowns, we'll say, last year. I don't think he repeats that this year. Like I said, I do think that they're going to be more run heavy. I mean, they were run heavy anyway, but I think that there could be more red zone goal line work to go around for the running backs this year. Teams are. Devontae Adams is great, but I think that teams are going to adjust to what they do at the goal line. So you could get touchdown carousel out of this team between the tight ends and the running backs. But I'm confident in the running backs for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, Kyron, I think you just take him. You know what you're going to get, and it's going to be damn solid. This is going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL once again. Corum definitely could. Get some more usage this year, but I still, and you play in these tournaments, you're swinging for some upside, past the Kyram, limit maybe. And if he's going to take a little bit more of a downturn, it makes sense. But I feel like, if he slips to you in certain spots and certain builds, it certainly makes sense. Terrence Ferguson's a guy I take late, like when I'm just trying to build a 2 or 3 tight end room. And I'm just hoping for some gold at some point later on because, there is talk of him, being that wide receiver 3 in the offense. And he certainly could take that step up. Blake Corum's a nice pick too, when you need running back help, running back depth. Puka, unbelievable player. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. And it just, everything goes through basically Puka and this running game and Adams and then tight ends too, but you just never know which one's really going to contribute. Devontae Adams, again, like his red zone presence, he could be 50 years old and I still think school these corners one-on-one. So, his yards may be down, but he still could get to double-digit touchdowns. So, yeah, he's not as sexy as he's been in the past, but you got to worry about injury a little bit too. He seems like he's struggling with some injuries down the stretch here a little bit too, but I still feel like I want to mix some of him in, even though I haven't drafted any of him yet. They also talked about this kid Mumpfield possibly getting some more looks. Xavier Smith's not a bad player either. So these are just some names to keep, pay attention to as we go on during the year. If there's some injuries, like Joey mentioned, Jordan Whittington, like he's been a popular name. I know I've chased after him a few times. He really, he's had some big games here or there, but again, just some names to pay attention to because, if any of these guys get any type of role, significant or a decent role in this offense, it's going to be worth it for fantasy. Do you guys think the Rams, with all the moves they're making this year, and again, going back to your point, Joey, before I finish that thought, their defense definitely, and they could be running a lot more this year with the strength of their defense because last year their secondary was their weakness. So they were getting in all these shootouts like they did against freaking Carolina in the playoffs last year. So you're right, Joey. That's a good point. Hey, maybe Myles Garrett goes down, maybe 1 or 2 of these corners goes down, and we're right back to the same thing. And the Rams aren't worth that 13th round pick that where they're going in fantasy drafts. I was going to finish off what I was saying previously, but I forgot. So any other thoughts here on the Rams before we get to the next one?
Yeah, I just want to mention the 2 teams that were covered so far, Seahawks and the Rams. If you play in any of these high stakes tournaments, you get the free look with these guys. So you can factor that into your draft strategy with the free look. What we mean by a free look is there's games on Wednesday and Thursday, and drafts run through Sunday, so they allow you to know the results before you get till Sunday, kickoff on Sunday to lock in your lineup officially. So you get to see the results. So you could factor in, like Joey mentioned, the kicker. You take the kickers, the defenses. The kickers and the defenses are solid, anyways. But like you can throw in like a Blake Corum, give you more incentive to draft Blake Corum if he happens to get 2 rushing touchdowns and 70 rushing yards. Nice two goal line carries in for the end zone. Obviously you can plug him into your lineup, and you're set for the week for that one spot. So same thing. Seahawks open up against the Patriots on Wednesday night, and
we got the Niners there too, another NFC West team for the free look.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. he could have a big game, then now you can plug him in there. So these guys, factor that into your draft strategy. Use it as a tiebreaker. Don't make it revolve around it, because there's still 15, 14, 13, 14 other weeks to go through. But just keep it in mind during the draft. Don't forget about it.
Yeah, it certainly helps. Every point freaking counts, and you can utilize that. I mean, I've been taking some Borregales for the free look, and for the kickers rather. I haven't really been seeing people take Beavis or Mevis or Harrison Mevis, whatever he is, Thicker the kicker. 48.5 total there in an Australia game, Thursday night on Netflix. And then like Joe last night, Joe took Torrey Horton, so he's going to get a free look there with Torrey Horton. So you could do that too. That's NFFC, you get the free look, and also FFPC, you get the free look. I believe FFWC, they do the same thing, or at least they did. Now they're merged with NFFC. I'm not sure about RT Sports if they do the free look. I'm pretty sure they do the same thing too. But
and one more thing with this team too is, if anybody out there's playing Dynasty, you may want to tie Simpson to Ferguson hookup cheap, because Devontae's getting older, Stafford's getting older, tied in to a rookie quarterback or first or second year quarterback if he gets in. The Dynasty owners may want to pick those two up.
What do you think about Ty Simpson, Joe? I mean, I kind of like what I saw in some games that I saw at Alabama, but I haven't, really went back and looked at him in a deep do you have a good feel for him? Do you think he was worth the pick there for the Rams? I'm sorry, Joe. I was going to ask Joey about that. Go ahead.
I don't know.
I wasn't sure. You said Joe. You've been calling.
Yeah, I know, Joey. Joe.
You got to trust.
I'll just start calling you by your last names. Go ahead.
I just think you got to trust Sean McVay, and that he's an offensive guru, so he must have seen something that he liked. So
that's what I was going to say. You took my answer, Joe.
There you go. So you guys merged together. Nicely there.
I mean, everybody wants to shit on this year's on the quarterback class as a whole, but Sean McVay kind of reached for him. I thought.
What do you go 14?
Yeah, it was a reach, I think, but you got to have insurance. I guess you got to have a backup plan. Matt Stafford's not getting any younger.
Right,
and that entire team is in win now mode. So if McVay had to have seen something that he liked.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of liked what I saw from him, and he was like the number 1 or number 2 quarterback. A lot of people are saying he could have been the number 1, maybe. So I'm with you guys. I think I trust McVay, and again, I want to go look at him a little bit deeper, but. I don't really have a huge issue with it, especially with Stafford's age. And, worst comes to worst, maybe Stafford misses 3-4 weeks and he's got to fill in, and maybe he elevates them a little bit. Stetson Bennett, actually, I didn't think he was too bad either. I thought he could do like a little, what's that quarterback for Denver? Oh, man. Forget what the hell his name is, but I think he could start a couple games as a decent backup, especially with this crew he's running with too. So, yeah, I think the Rams know what they're doing. And they are the Super Bowl favorites once again. So we'll see. I think this might be the year where, Stafford gets his second and McVay gets his second and Devontae Adams gets his first. I think they're worth paying up the plus 550 odds. They're the favorites, still 5-1, and making them the favorites for the Super Bowl. I don't mind it.
And Darnold may be back.
Who's that? That's true. That's true. Aaron Donald. Yeah, he visited the team yesterday. So, I mean, if they get him, the odds are just going to move up a little bit more, probably.
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't care to see Devontae Adams get one. I like him. I always did like Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I remember way back when the Packers drafted him, and I think it was Silva. Evan Silva was like, he's going to be better than Donald Driver this year. It was like his rookie year, and I was like, there's no way.
He had a rough rookie year. He did.
No, he wasn't good like his first 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He was like still developing. And then like by his third or fourth year, he was just like unbelievable. I mean, he just absolutely went off. All right. Third team here this is where we start getting to the conspiracy theories and a little bit with the substation. Kyle Shanahan, even him, he got into some kind of accident and they kind of kept a hush on that, but he's like, he's going to miss some part of camp or whatnot. He's still searching for his first Super Bowl. He's been in a couple Super Bowls. He's been there since 2017. They have another Kubiak in the building. It's Clay Kubiak as offensive coordinator. And they bring in new defensive coordinator who was the, head coach of the Falcons, Raheem Morris. He comes in this new year. And they also have Matt Eberflus, who we remember from the Rams. I mean, not the Rams, the Bears, and then the Cowboys. So he's in the building too on this staff. And then, Morris is replacing Robert Saleh, who, coached for the Niners, went to the Jets, then went back to the Niners, and now he's in Tennessee. But Niners, I mean, this is another very interesting team. Obviously, the injuries are, everywhere over here. You can see all the red. Mike Evans banged up, Christian Kirk banged up, Stribling a little bit banged up, Cowing even. George Kittle coming back from Achilles. Their backup running backs seemingly are hurt every single year. Jordan James, Kalen Black, Grendo, he's always freaking hurt. Brock Purdy, he misses games kind of every single year. So,
who's not hurt? You know who's not hurt? CMC.
And I think CMC is he's like
somebody picked him up and dipped him in the pool there, that Achilles. So now he's goated. He can't be injured.
I think CMT is probably, I think he's figured some things out, throughout his career, and he's an absolute workout maniac. So he's doing everything he could possibly do to keep his body at top optimal level, similar to Derrick Henry. So, that's why I say, like, you get a little bit worried, like, when's the cliff going to go? When's the cliff going to happen for McCaffrey? I just, it's the modern athlete nowadays. They have everything they could possibly have. They have all the nutrition, they have the trainers, they have the peptides, they have the red light therapy, they have the saunas, they have freaking everything to take care of their bodies. And McCaffrey probably just takes absolutely full advantage of it. So, I mean, again, I don't know, you got Gibbs and Bijan and Chase, like, McCaffrey, again, he could be the number one guy. I mean, it's in the cards again, and you're getting him 5, 6, 7, 8 sometimes. And I think you just keep chasing him because even if his rushing numbers aren't great, he's just still going to catch so many freaking passes and still be fantasy gold. So, Christian McCaffrey's rock solid. But I'll let you start, Joe, with the Niners.
I got my first share of Mike Evans. I don't not necessarily really drafting them. Have been a target of mine. Of course, with Mike Evans, it's injury concerns. So, like, he's almost guaranteed to miss 2 or 3 games. It's been the case the last few years. Obviously, he's productive when he's on the field. I think that he's going to be a huge red zone weapon. Double-digit touchdowns is certainly within reach. So I'm okay with Mike Evans in the 5th round where he's going. Sometimes he'll fall to the back end of the 5th. Get lucky, you get him at the 5, 6 turn. So yeah, I'm okay with him. CMC, I'm not going to personally draft, but I don't have. I mean, I shouldn't say that because same thing as last year. I was off of him, and then as the season approached, I started saying, yeah, maybe he is worth drafting. So I'm starting to lean that way again. I think maybe he's worth the first round pick gamble. He's the biggest boom or bust guy there is. As far as season long goes, he could stays healthy, he's giving you, well over 20 points per game. He's a major factor in the passing game. I think 100 plus targets is pretty much a lock if he stays healthy. So yeah, I think I'm coming around on CMC in round one. I think obviously it's a risk, but risk reward. So, and George Kittle is a great value where he's going. I've been mixing him in a lot in best ball, more so than redraft. I think I'm not even sure if I have a high stakes share of Kittle yet, but mid round value. I think you insulate him with another tight end that's got a good floor that you can plug in the event that he isn't ready by week one or has a setback or misses time at any point in the season. So he's very similar to Tucker Kraft. You're getting good value for the upside from where they're going in drafts. Brock Purdy, I'm also in on this, especially in formats with the 6-point pass and touchdowns. He goes underrated in these formats. Again, an injury risk. Brock Purdy, known to miss a game or two here and there. But when he's on the field, 6-point pass and touchdown format, he's averaging 24 to 26 points per game. So, borderline QB1 and consistent at that, especially being attached to this offense with, Shanahan calling the plays. Their schedule is a bit rough overall. It's kind of difficult. I'm looking at it now, and specifically late in the season. You got week 14 against the Rams, week 15 at the Chargers, week 16 at the Chiefs, and then week 17 at home against the Eagles. So pretty rough run out from weeks 14 to week 17, when you need these guys to hit the most. So I think that if they're all healthy, if the team is healthy at that point in time, then they'll be all right. But I think if even one guy's missing, Mike Evans or CMC, then that whole offense probably is unplayable during those stretch of games. So something you need to keep in mind, when you approach that point in the season and during the draft. I suppose, if you're taking Brock Purdy, make sure you pair him with another good quarterback that has upside, like a Jackson Dott. He's somebody that you can double tap with Purdy. They're both going in that mid round range, round 10, round 11. That's it. Strebling. Again, I think he'll get an opportunity. So could he produce? Yeah, he's worth taking a shot on. But I don't think you're going to get anything more than flex value out of him. So especially if Kittle's healthy, I think if Kittle's healthy, he's the clear cut number 2 wide receiver on this, number 2 pass catching target on the team. It'll be funneled and funneled through the 3 guys: CMC, Kittle, and Evans. I don't know how much value Stribling carries without getting an opportunity for increased volume through injuries to the guys ahead of him on the depth chart. So,
good thing about Strip. Good.
No, I think that I was going to say that's it. I think that's it. I want to leave something for Joey.
Yeah, I was gonna say about Stribling. I'm a little late to the game, and if I was a little bit early in on him, I probably would have been going after him. I'm still looking at guys and playing catch up on some of these guys, but he's interesting to me, man. 6'2", second round, 33rd overall, ran a 4.3. His dad was a Marine. His uncle was a WWF Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer. The guy surfs. I don't know. So it just seems like he's got a nice opportunity, and he's a good run blocker too, which is obviously what Shanahan likes. And now with no Pearsall and, even these other receivers, Kirk with injuries and Cowing and Mike Evans. I mean, like I think he's okay. He's back in practice now, dribbling, but he's got a nice opportunity. And when I look at him, he's big. He can catch in traffic. He breaks tackles. He's got great speed. So he's kind of exciting. They do bring in Debo though. Debo's, that's going to be a little bit of a thorn, but I don't mind taking him obviously in best ball and in our redraft high stake leagues too, and just kind of hoping maybe by week 5, week 6, maybe see some signs early on, and then later in the year he can really be a bigger force in this offense. Joey, what sticks out to you most about San Francisco this year?
And you all summed it up pretty good, but it's going to run through CMC, but it's almost like a handcuff to me. If you draft Evans, you better take Strickland. Like I think, I didn't take him when I first took him. I didn't realize it, but he's almost like a wide receiver handcuff, and then you got Tonjes. I still think he's going to hold value too. I mean, he's only healthy one they got right now. I think he'll be involved, but it's like, so they're old for a football team. They're aging. I think one thing Scribblin's got going for him. We always talk about the LSU's, the Ohio State. Yeah. Ole Miss is right there with them. They're knocks under, but DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, now Scribbling. There's probably some more. I just ain't thinking of it, but they've been some good wide receivers coming out of Ole Miss, so it's been well. He's interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to start targeting him a little bit more in these drafts. Mike Evans, the guy, he's a Hall of Famer, 1,000-yard receiver every single year except for last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he only plays 8 games, so it's just like, I don't feel great when he's like in that spot. I've taken him a couple times. I kind of see he's 32 years old now. He's he got this freaking substation thing. He's already hurt. There is a lot of risks, but like Joe said, it's like total risk reward. Like he's a total boom or bust. He could just have another double-digit touchdowns, 1,000-yard season very, very easily here. So
yeah.
And he's a nice little value in these drafts too. So
yeah,
I think
like with Purdy, he was out for a while last year. He got hurt, but he scored 250 points, but 125 of them came in 3 games. So when that offense is rolling, if everybody's healthy, that's a good offense to be, to have pieces of in fantasy and
yeah. And the whole thing about the substation is, it's like the EMF, the magnetic fields, and they're supposed to, hurt your metabolism and your I guess like they dehydrate you and they hurt your tissue, which could lead to injuries. You hear things like RFK Jr. talking about EMFs and shutting off your Wi-Fi at night. So this kind of ties into the same thing. And you see it you see this freaking huge thing right next to their freaking practice field. So I don't know how much longer it's going to last. Like they may be on a new practice field next year if these injuries continue.
Well, it's been good for CMC. It's unusual.
Yeah, CMC is the one that he seems to have overcome it. Maybe they gotta take after CMC a little bit more as far as their training or whatnot. But the rest of the team, Purdy, he's had his own injury things. He's a smaller guy too. So, whether it has the big influence or not, or even if it's just a little bit affects them,
for fantasy, I guess, something to keep up with, I know one of them's hurt, but the true backup, for CMC, that's going to hold a lot of fantasy value. It may be Kalen Black or something now. The other guy got fractured ribs. So
look at the name all the way down there, number 7, Khalil Herbert.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Even Sincere McCormick, he had that one decent year for the Raiders. Yeah, so Patrick Taylor had some, he had some opportunities with them too.
Another conspiracy theory for San Francisco's practice field, or the new stadium as well, is built on an
Cemetery?
old, like, prestigious Native American burial grounds.
Oh God, isn't that what the poltergeist is about?
I saw my old co-host from Thursday checked out. Rick Bruce Wellis is originally from San Francisco. He lives in Texas now, but he's the one who told me about that last year, and with all the injuries that were happening last year as well. And he was like, "I'm telling you that has to do with it. There's definitely some spirits that involved."
Yeah.
And he's like, "There's no doubt in my mind." He's like, "I grew up in that area with the and I think Rick is part Native American." So,
that was like the poltergeist. Remember they had the Indian guy? That was a freaky ass movie, man. I can't believe we watched those movies as kids. It was nuts. With that old guy running through the neighborhood. Oh man. But yeah, even the Bills, like they said that that old stadium's like built on a cemetery or next to a cemetery they were talking about too. So they're, maybe their new stadium brings them more fortune. I don't know.
Norwood's probably underneath there. Wide right against the Giants.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Brutal.
Yeah, that game was in Tampa. That game was in Tampa.
That was Ray. You mean Ray Finkel?
Ray Finkel. Yeah, basically Scott Norwood was Ray Finkel, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. As a Bills fan, that was miserable, but still, you sit and think about it, going to 4 straight Super Bowls is still pretty good.
Joe, how did you become a Bills fan? You just rooted for them when they were.
I always liked Thurman Thomas growing up. I liked watching him play.
Yeah, that is crazy, man. 4 straight Super Bowls.
They're deep. I mean, they had everything. They're deep.
And they got blown out in every one except for that first one against the Giants.
First one was close. Yeah. Dallas killed them twice, and then Washington killed them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Washington beat them up pretty good.
Hey, at least Don Beebe stripped Leon Lett on that hot dog play he was making, right?
You said, think about it, man. They had, Andre Reed, Bruce Smith.
They had a great team. Cornelius, what was the
Cornelius Bennett?
Cornelius Bennett, yeah.
They had another guy. I can't remember his name. Big defensive guy. He was good too. They was good. They just got hold of the wrong ones.
Yeah, I mean those Cowboy teams were ridiculous. They were stacked. All right, last team, and they're playing right now in the Hall of Fame game. They're up 30-27 with 44 seconds left here. I do have Carolina -1.5. Arizona scored, and there was a review. It was ruled incomplete, and they reversed it, so it was ruled a touchdown. So they're up 3, and Carolina's driving here at the 40. So we'll get into the Arizona Cardinals, and just watching this game tonight. Carson Beck, he started tonight with Brissett and even Minshew on the bench, and Beck actually made some nice throws. So that's kind of a good sign for them. If they, that's the big talk. Like, they're going to transition off Brissett at some point, and that's going to hurt the rest of the offense, but maybe not. Maybe Beck,
he looked good
as he goes through the season, he gets even better. So people are scared off that. Maybe it's not as bad. Go ahead, Joey. What do you want to say about the Cardinals?
Oh, me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say he looked good tonight, but like I said, I know he's played against, third, fourth, fifth stringers, but it has to be a confidence booster anyway. You like to see how he can be, like when you draft these, McBride, which I don't worry about McBride, Harrison, and then might be a different story. Rookie quarterback, a tight end's best friend, so McBride still get peppered with targets. So, Love and Algier will be interesting too. I mean, Algier is going to be involved. It's going to be like the Bijan probably back in Atlanta, I would say. But Harrison's the wild card for me. I don't know what to do with him. Where he's going, he's worth taking a shot on where he's going. We'll see go around where you need to take a shot on him or Brian Thomas Jr. around 5th or 6th round. So he's interesting. Michael Wilson's interesting too. I mean, you can't count him out, especially with Brissett. You know, it might be a different story, but if they do make a change, but like I said, I think McBride's still going to be all right. But like I said, the run them, but I don't guess the defense has got no better, so they're going to have to sling it all the time. So they're going to have to play catch up, especially. But Love and Algier be interesting to me. See what kind of split they get. Algier probably might be your goal line back, I would think. So we'll see. I don't think Trey Benson, did he even play tonight, Steve?
No, he was hurt. And then he came back, but I think that he was a little bit banged up, so he hasn't played at all. They were using the Cardinals were running out Bam Knight most of the first half.
I'd rather have him over Benson. Benson's he killed people last year and held on to him. And
he's been a roster
I think Benson's going to get moved. Yeah, I think Benson's going to get moved. I don't know what they're going to do with Connor. I guess he could get moved too. Carolina, oh my God, Carolina's going to kick a field goal and tie the game up. So Carolina's down 3 points. There's 2 seconds left. Are they going to kick a field goal here or go for the touchdown? Might as well just go for it. You're going to play.
You know, I'll tell you something else too. When you sit here and look at their depth chart, they've got a pretty good. I think he's underrated wide receiver 3. I like it. Kendrick Bourne's a pretty good player.
He is good. Yeah.
Yeah. He's I didn't realize he was there. And I think Connor, to me, I think based on how bad this team could be, if they just use him every now and then, he might be a trade deadline candidate to a contender.
Just run it in, Haynes. Run it in, Haynes. Run it in.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he got it. Yes. Nice.
You talk about him. He was good at it.
Yeah, I remember watching him a couple of times at Georgia Tech last year, but he just won the game for them on a scramble, 33-30. There you go. All right. So that's good. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Marvin Harrison's interesting. I feel like I'm in on him this year. I think he's going to have probably his best year. Even though I'm in on Wilson too, I'm going out. I'd rather wait for Wilson, but if I want, I'll probably have some Harrison this year. And then the backfield, I haven't drafted Jeremiah Love yet. I'm just not there. I don't know what it is. I just feel like he's going a little too high. But Joe, I know you're into him in certain spots. You could go into that.
Yeah, I have 2 shares of him. One in the 3rd, one in the 4th round. I like him at that price. 2nd round, early on he was going in the 2nd round. That's a little bit rich for me. I do think that he's involved in the passing game. This team was on. Jacoby Brissett plays a full 17 games last year. He could have been on a record pace for pass attempts. We know that he broke a single game record at one point. I'm not sure which game it was, but Jeremiah Love is the only one I've drafted so far. I'm with you. I'm with Joey on McBride. I think he's still the number 1 target in the offense. This is why I'm having a hard time clicking on either Arizona wide receiver. And the reason for that is, as much as I do think that this team is still going to be pass heavy, there's going to be some regression there. I do think that they made improvements, some slight improvements on defense. I think that the fact that they went out and took Jeremiah Love, it's like a win now move for them when they, had other needs, leads me to believe that they are going to be more competitive than teams than the public has given them credit for. Now, by competitive, I mean in games. I don't mean that they're going to be like. I don't think they finish with a winning record. I do think they still end up with a losing record. but I don't think they're going to be in full-on tank mode unless the season really, really goes sour somehow. Maybe somebody
Joe, I don't
goes
want to
down.
cut you off, but their win total is 8.5 this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Pretty
saying.
high. It's pretty
Yeah.
high. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, but the wide receivers.
Sorry, my bad. I
What
just scrapped that.
is it? It's not that high.
No, it's 3.5. It's 3.5. Sorry.
That's a major difference.
I don't know why I was
difference.
like, I was kind of shocked by that when I saw that. But no, it's 3.5. So the Rams are 11.5, Niners are 10.5, Seahawks are 10.5, and the Cardinals are 3.5.
Let me see if I'm looking at the schedule.
But I get your point though. I mean, I could definitely see them being competitive.
They get like
I was looking at last year.
Closer.
Last year was 8.5. Go ahead.
I think the games are going to be closer. So they're still going to have to pass. That's why I'm in on Jeremiah Love in the 3rd and the 4th round. He's an incredible pass catching back. But it's going back to the wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson. If I'm more inclined to take Wilson over Marvin Harrison Jr. just simply because of the cost, the ADP. He's going a bit later, but I do think that they're both gonna kind of cannibalize each other, and it's gonna be a little bit inconsistent, or neither one of them are gonna have like a big ceiling. I think Michael Wilson. I mean, it's hard to say. I can't. I really don't have a good read on this offense, and it's probably why I've avoided the pass catches. There's just something about it. It's the possible quarterback change late in the season or at some point in the season, combined with I don't think Michael Wilson's going away, and I do think that Trey McBride is still the number one target. So when you factor that in, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is capped. I will say this, what he does have going for him is he's entering his 3rd year in the NFL. This is usually, breakout year for wide receivers with elite draft capital. So we can't forget that. I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. is more of an upside swing. Michael Wilson's more of a floor play. I don't think he's going away. I don't think he'll be phased out of the offense or go back to the role he had before, his late season surge. So it's a tough situation. It's kind of tough, So I don't have any shares of them of either wide receiver yet, but I think I would lean Michael Wilson just based on cost in like builds. Like I'm open to doing an RB heavy build, so Michael Wilson would be somebody I'm considering in that build. If I do a heavy wide receiver start and I get Marvin Harrison Jr. as my wide receiver 4, then I'm loving that. That's a nice upside swing at the flex spot. But I haven't had the chance to do either of those yet. So, or the opportunity to click either of them with those builds yet. So, I don't have any shares, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. In McBride, I think he's elite. It's just the cost. He's going, and he does slip some. If he slips, I will say this: if he slips to like the beginning, the back end of round 3, I'd probably take him there. But it's just I don't think Bowers and McBride are worth their ADP this year, because I don't think that they're going to outscore the number 3, 4, 5, even 6. I got Kyle Pitts going off this year, so I just don't think that they outscore Colson Loveland, Ty Warren, Kyle Pitts, even throw Harold Fannin in the mix, because I think he's going to be a target hog in Cleveland, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at with that. Are they going to produce elite level numbers? Absolutely. But are they going to get 340 points to 220, 210? I don't think so. I think it's going to be closer to like 300 to like 280 to like 220, 230. It's not going to be big enough to justify second and third round the 80 piece, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on that, but
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead,
one
Joe.
thing that McBride and Ballard's got going for them is even if they make quarterback changes, they've both got rookie quarterbacks thrown to the tight ends. So they're both going to get peppered with targets, I think. But, you know, the one good it's unreal, really, how McBride has good how he did last year. I guess because Harrison didn't do as much, but when you look at Bowers, he's probably the wide receiver one on that team. I mean, in Vegas, I mean he ain't got much help out there, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I liked it when I was in a draft and I was in the 1 hole or the 2 hole, I think, and I started with Bijan, and then Bowers dropped to me to the end of the second round, so I took Bowers there. And then in the third, just to be a little bit different, I took McBride. And basically, I was just saying to myself, all right, well, I'm just eliminating all risk here, and I'm just taking guys that I know that are going to produce, so I don't really have to worry about anything because I just feel like McBride. I mean, Bowers, whatever. I guess they can get hurt, whatever. But these guys are out there all 17 games. They're gonna be absolute forces. So I kind of like that unique combo there. So if like a Bowers falls in the second round, I like it. But I see what you're saying, Joe. Like Loveland could be a monster. Warren could be tight end 1. Fannin,
even the chat type it, Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft. Yeah, I mean we've been talking about on this show the tight ends.
He's deeper than what
just
people
so
realize.
many tight ends, and we always say it every single year. I've said this a million times, but it could be deceiving. It just really seems like this is the year to wait on tight end more than ever.
Likely to be good.
Yeah.
There's more than 2. I could there's like Warren, Loveland, Kraft, Pitts. Those 4 right there aren't going to be outscored by more than 100 points. I just don't, by Bowers and McBride. I just don't see
it. Yeah. It's just with McBride, you're just taking that certainty because you've seen him do it for 2 years, 3 years now, and Bowers is like the ultimate upswing, upside pick. Just going back to Michael Wilson, I have a ton of him, obviously. I just love the way he plays. He's like a Puka, aggressive. You throw it up to him, he comes down with it. And the way he finished last year, just incredible. I mean, he scored. Let me just pull up his numbers real quick. He's going in the 7th round, so you get a 2-round discount compared to Harrison. But again, I still want to click on Harrison sometimes. But look I think Brissett took over week 6 last year. And then, it took a little while to get going, but then 185 yards, 118, 142. And then weeks 14 through 18, he scored every single week, even though his yards are a little bit down. 37, 16, 13, 19, 20. I know his numbers were down a little bit with Marv on the out there on the field, but for me, I just like in that spot, it's just kind of a bet on talent value pick for me. And that's kind of, I keep leaning on him. Now I'm not going to like go crazy. I'll definitely continue to draft him, but I do want to mix it up a little bit. And then when Marv is sitting there, I haven't clicked on him yet, but I feel like I want to throw Marv a couple bones. Whereas like in his rookie year, when he was going the back end of the first round, I was just scared off that. I did one draft. I remember I did one draft. Yeah. I did one draft where I took him and I took Murray and McBride. I had that stack. And I remember telling Sanda in that draft, I'm like, it just felt so ugly doing it. And it didn't work out. I mean, obviously McBride was a stud, but Marv was just, he just was not close to that end of the first round. And even last year, but he had injuries last year. So I do think he's still a very nice talent, and he's got Brissett all year. But you're right, Joe. Like, we don't really know how it's all going to shake out. But I just like getting the value on Wilson. If I had to bet, I would say Wilson's still going to have a better year than Harrison.
Yeah.
That's just my pick there.
I agree. I'm closer to Michael Wilson than Marvin Harrison.
That's like last year. Reason why McBride was on so many teams. He scored 302.40 points through week 17. That's straight PPR NFFC score. And Kyle Pitts was 199. that's number 2 ranked court. That's number 2 tight end. I mean, it was just, I don't think he can match that again. I really don't. I mean, it's unreal. I think it's, just everybody else was under 200 points. Everybody else was under 200.
Yeah, the last 2 games that Wilson and Harrison played together, week 16, week 17, Wilson had 2 catches for 52 yards, 5 catches for 89 yards, and he scored in both games. I think Harrison may have got hurt again in that week 17 game because he had no yards in that game. And then the week 16 game, Harrison only had 1 catch for 14 yards. And
another point too, right quick. Them drafting Jeremiah Love at 3, bringing in Algier, they might not want to sit and pepper the ball all the time. They may want to keep these games, don't let Brissett get intercepted or just slinging it all over the place. They may try to slow it down just a tad, with all them running backs they got. Also, I mean, you don't pay Algier that kind of money for coming in and then take him at number 3. I think
true, but yeah, they just got to stay in these games,
right. To keep your other things off the field,
they certainly have the running backs to do it. I mean, that's true. They certainly do.
Ball control.
But I question the Jeremiah Love pick just like I question them bringing in Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, you could say, all right, well, Nathaniel Hackett left the Jets, and everybody who leaves the Jets is good, but he was a terrible coach in Denver too. So
yeah,
he got fired after his first year. But I think LaFleur's, he's kind of the guy controlling it, similar like with Shanahan and who was I saying? They brought in Cliff Kingsbury over there. So I mean, McVay rather with the Rams. So. I don't think I worry about the Hackett as much as when he was with the Jets. Although, Aaron Rodgers was kind of running the show there too. When
I will say this though, Steve, I do think there is a chance that Jeremiah Love starts out a little bit slow, fantasy production wise.
Very possible.
That's why I like him in the 3rd, 4th round, because at that point, I like him. The teams I have him in, I took a running back in the 1st round, so I like him as an RB2, but I also like him I'm looking to get a solid RB3, like a Rashad White or a Tony Pollard, or I want my RB3 to be I want to be able to flex my RB3 if I have to, or start him if I have to, in the event that Jeremiah Love starts out slow, because we saw what happened with Trevion Henderson last year. And now I know that Jeremiah Love doesn't have Ramondre in front of him, but Tyler Algier is no slouch, and James Conner is, still there. So
right.
Yeah,
that's kind of my concern too. That's my concern too.
But insulate him with a good RB3 and take him as an RB2. Don't go wide receiver, Jeremiah Love. I don't know, unless you plan on doing Jeremiah, like grabbing 3 running backs right away, but then you're kind of minimizing your heavy wide receiver start. I think when you do a 3 heavy wide receiver start, you want to lean into it and make that flex another strong wide receiver as well, but to maximize your ceiling as far as your build goes. But I mean, either way, that's kind of how I'm drafting him. I like him as my RB2, and I'm insulating him with a solid RB3. Otherwise, I'm probably not drafting him. I don't know if I like him as my RB1.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not there yet. I don't know how many times it's going to be. It's almost get the same vibes like the Genty last year and the.
What is this guy saying in the chat? Marvin Wilson, is he like hedging? Is he hedging his prediction? What is he saying there? Or Marvin is the Y and Wilson is the X. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's actually got a question. I want to get
to that.
Smooth C says can't blame Scott Norwood. Teams could have brought him closer. I mean, I think that wasn't it only like a 43-yard field goal. But again, that was
I can't remember.
1991. Kickers weren't as good as they are now. But Vegas says, shout out to him for coming back to the show. I drafted 12 teams redraft. Hurts, Taylor, Saquon, Ibuka, and T. Higgins are my wide receivers 1 through 2. Texans D and kicker. Kraft is probably my least player. Mahomes is backup, Scatterbo, flex. Thoughts?
Solid squad.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, I like it too. You got Scatterbo, you got Saquon, Taylor, Scatterbo, 2 solid receivers. Tucker, Kraft, Texans D. Who are your other receivers in that team? But yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
From the looks of it, in a 12-team league, he was pick 7.
Good team.
Also says he was happy to get Marvin Harrison on my bench round 8. There you go. So he's got Marv there and Mahomes round 9 and Josh Downs. So yeah, nice squad, man. I like it. And he took Kittle and Tonjes, so he was listening to you there, Joey.
Tonjes is good. He could, especially in that system. I'll put that way. He's good in that system. So,
and when he needs to be relied upon, he shows up.
Smooth C says, where do you have Warren ranked? Tight ends.
Probably after Loveland.
So typical. I mean, the way they're going, or do you?
I'm mixing him and Tucker Kraft up as far as drafting targets, though, just because Tucker Kraft goes 2-3 rounds later.
Yeah,
two rounds later.
And I can make the argument probably is Warren at 3, just because Loveland's got Odunze and Burden.
Loveland's never coming off the field, though, Joe.
I know. Yeah, I mean, what I like about Warren, though, they run him around the goal line. He gets goal line carries.
She loves me.
They're both great. They're both good, Joe.
Ben Johnson singing, "Isn't she lovely?" In the shower after the games. Yeah, he loves setting up Loveland, man. I mean, and Loveland does a hell of a job.
No matter what formation, like if they lean into the tight end heavy formation, it only works in his favor more. That it hurts an Odunze or it hurts a Burden, depending on which one's going to come off the field. I mean,
he's going to be 3 and 4. I mean, Warren's no lower than 4, I think.
But Warren's going to be a target hog this year, and he's an absolute menace inside the red zone. So,
and depends on how healthy Pierce is. If Pierce is out for a while, then he's going to get fed. Him and Downs.
This is why I have a hard time. This is why I have a hard time taking Bowers and McBride.
You guys remember, though, the last time Ben Johnson had a tight end? Remember Laporta's rookie year, and everybody chased him the second year, and he had a down year. He didn't get hurt. I think he was missed one game.
Yeah, I didn't chase him. He was up in the second round. People were taking him at the back end of the second round with Bijan. And I was like, no, it's gonna way to ruin the Bijan build. Good job.
And then the next year he had 60 catches and 7 touchdowns. So Loveland was
I think it was Bijan. Who was it? Bijan that was the number 1 pick the year that Laporta was going the second round. I forget who it was.
I don't remember.
Hope this guy right here that listens to us, he's talking about his team. Since he got Jalen Hurts, he better go pick up Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah, Makai Lemon, hamstring injury, so he's not in practice. That's not good for the rookie. So yeah, Wicks has a great opportunity.
His second hamstring tweak since he's been drafted.
You never want to see hamstring injuries.
I'm gonna tell you, we've been all over.
Joey's been talking about Dontavian Wicks since last Thanksgiving.
Since June, at least. May, June. Yeah. But the thing of it is, I didn't realize this either when I first started talking about it. I always liked him as a Buffalo fan. I said, I wish Buffalo went and got him. But, he's got his Green Bay OC there. He's going to be involved.
Yeah.
And he's he's the most physical wide receiver in that room in Philly. I'm telling you. He's going to be good. And I've got 70% of him. I hope he is anyway.
Well, yeah. Now you're locked and loaded on him. And He's got the opportunity now. So 100%. Go get Wicks, my man.
Yeah.
Couple more from here. He says McBride was on the field 100 more plays than any other tight end last year. That's 2 more games worth of plays. Michael Wilson will be the number 1 receiver. Brissett, 8. Marvin will be on the Y routes. He's got the tight end position covered. And then he says, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to rely on Pittman all season. Pittman
100%
was 7.8. Rodgers was 7.9 and 8.1. Sounds like a match made in heaven. I think I said the same exact thing.
I have some Pittman. I got to start working him back in. I took him on my first in my first couple drafts. And
yeah, I've been taking him like when I go running back heavy, and he's just kind of sitting there, and I get him as my third receiver.
He's a great flex. I think he's a great flex this year.
Hey, I think it's something else I think people lose sight of, and I even myself included, and people don't really realize it. I would say before Brissett really got the chance to come in, I say him and Wilson already had that chemistry in practices. But Marvin with the first screen. I mean that happens a lot more than what we give credit for. It's just like you sit and watch Marvin Harrison and Wilson. It reminds you of Mac Jones with Brian Thomas Jr. and Lawrence with Washington. It's almost a similar thing to me if you sit and look at it, because almost like Lawrence he's connected to Parker Washington where Mac Jones was with Brian Thomas Jr. And like I said, before Brissett got the chance, I'm sure the second string running offense and stuff, they already had that chemistry, him and Wilson. I would think.
Actually wanted to talk about their schedule. Arizona's schedule is pretty nice in the playoffs. Jets, New Orleans, Vegas. Pretty nice playoff schedule.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish up the show as we always do with the future bets, the future pick. Nobody's taking the Cardinals. Plus 10,000. Take the Niners as the value pick there. Is anybody willing to take the Niners to win the division, or we just think it's Rams or Seahawks?
No, it's Rams. It's chalk. I'm going chalk.
So you think they're going to take the step up over the Seahawks this year?
Yes.
All right. How about you, Joey?
Well, everybody's going to go with the Rams. I'm gonna go with Kyle Shanahan. I'm gonna say that he'll find something. He'll sneak in there somehow. It's just everybody's gonna take the Rams. The Rams gonna win, and Seattle probably finish second, or third. I'm gonna give Shanahan a shot. He's a good coach.
Yeah, I mean that's the value play there. The Rams for the Super Bowl. The Rams are plus 550. Seahawks are plus 1,100. Bills are plus 1,100. Actually, that's a little bit older. Hold on. This is newer here. Rams plus 550. Seahawks plus 1,100. And then the Bills plus 1,000. Ravens. I was kind of surprised by that. With a new coach, no more Harbaugh, they're second to win the Super Bowl. Do you guys think that's justified?
No, I guess not.
I don't think so.
I guess not. I do think they're going to have a much better year this year, a much improved year for sure. Maybe they can win the division, but
yeah, I guess I'll take the Rams too. I don't know. I just feel like the Dodgers and the Rams are bullying sports right now with all these big ass moves they're making. So, it might be another Dodgers World Series, and then the Rams followed up with a Super Bowl.
Matt Stafford is elite. I had to throw that in there. Matt Stafford is elite. If he's healthy with that defense, they're the favorites.
46 touchdowns last year for Stafford. What, 5,000 yards? 5,000 yards.
I don't think he repeats that, but he's still very much an elite NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. McCaffrey had almost 450 touches. Taylor had almost 400. Not much different in risk. All right. That's pretty much it. Any you guys want to add anything before we wrap this up?
Tomorrow night, live streaming an auction on the sports affiliation with Billy Wasowski, 9 p.m. I'm learning auction. This will be my third auction draft. Billy is a seasoned vet. He goes by Auction Assassin on the NFFC auction leagues. So that's his team name. So we're gonna
get the studs. Get the studs and spend that money, and don't have any left over.
Yeah. Listen, I won. I did one last year, and I won it. So this, I did one this year. I lost connection during the auction. Kind of affected me a little bit. I'll lead into that as an excuse. If that team does poor. So.
I'd like to do an auction with you guys too at some point. I'll be tuning in tomorrow though.
Yeah, we should do it. We'll mix one in before August is over. So.
Yeah, maybe we can get Billy in that one too, or a couple other guys. Maybe we can get some of you guys in there, Joey, if you guys want to jump in.
Yeah,
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, Joey, come and learn. Just hop on and learn. Man.
The best thing about auctions is you could build teams you can never get in a redraft.
Yeah, that is the best part.
Yeah,
you can actually put a plan together, Joe, and it doesn't get ruined. Like you can make your plan happen if you don't overspend too crazy.
Yeah, and there's going to be some nice, even if you're down to your last 6 guys, you have $7, you can still make it work. Just getting dollar players.
You're not the only person with a dollar maximum bid at that point as well too. So you got to keep that in mind. Later on, I'm learning too. Later on, you do scrape up some nice value.
I'll watch that tomorrow. Well,
guys.
Put Bijan and Gibbs on the same team and see how it comes out. You spent $30 probably, but
yeah.
That'd
be a fun experiment.
All righty, guys.
All right, guys, that's it. We'll be back. Check out Joe's show tomorrow, Sports Affiliation Channel. Hall of Famer, NFC player Billy Wasowski is going to be on with him, and then Monday night, Josh and Dan. And then we'll be back. I'll probably have a live stream maybe Saturday or Sunday as well. So check that out. Make sure you guys are following the show. Follow us all on X below. And again, we'll be back all the way up to the draft season and throughout the season. So thanks to all the listeners. Have a good night. Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay.